How's it going, y'all? This is McFrostyBoy, and we're back and bringing you some more analysis and gameplay before getting warmed up in Kovacs and doing our daily practice and then switching over. Okay, so for this guy, this clip, the reason why we're taking another look at this one is because there's an endgame scenario where I kind of got lost. Not gonna lie, a lot of things were happening all at once, and I just was not sure how to produce a winning situation. So some information that we know for sure is that there's one squad that's down here in the lower left hand corner that we're kind of near this ping here, right, that we're kind of pinning down. And then there's another squad over here. There's a lot of action going on over here, so there's another squad over here that has left that fight. So that's what we know for sure right now. That's where the two squads are, right? There's only two remaining squads. And to our knowledge, at least, these are all full squads. We don't really know much more than that because we haven't been able to get a good line of sight on these guys because this pillar's in the way, right? These guys down here we've been exchanging damage with for a little while, so we do know that they are a full squad. So, yeah. So you can see here we've got 34 seconds to make our rotation, and this rotation is looking pretty bad. Right, so there's this high ground spot over here. Let's number the squads. So this will be these guys down here. Guys will be number. These guys over here. Surprise, number 2. So squad number 2, right? They actually get to stay in their position. They're right here, so they get to stay there. Squad number 1 also has to make the rotation along with us to get to. Somehow get into this area down here, right? That's the other spot that's available inside the ring. There's 2 locations. There's the one on the high ground and the one on the low ground, right? There may be some way for squad 1 and ourselves to share this low ground location, by using the cover, in I guess non-aggressive ways, but realistically speaking, our 2 squads are going to come so close to one another that we're going to have to kill each other. That's how bad it is. We're going to be so close to one another that we have to kill each other because squad 2 literally is just going to be sitting there just taking pot shots at us the entire time. So if you think about it, it's if you have to deal with someone who's coming at you from your left and from in front of you, then you really don't have a whole lot of options in terms of where you can be on a piece of cover, right? You can be basically over here on this side. That's where you're allowed to be. If this is top down, right? So we're definitely going to be in a tough situation going forward. So we need to figure out how to make our rotation. The one thing that I wanted to point out here, which I feel was a non-intuitive option that I didn't see right out the gate, was that we could have actually made a play right here, right now, to cross, and then push these guys over here. Force these guys off the high ground. And I actually think that is the play that we should have made. The reason why is because what happens there, although we don't it's not the ideal fight where we walk up in third party the last 2 squads. What happens there, right, is squad 1 most likely either shows up here, makes their rotation down here, or they decide to follow us in. They follow us in, that's I mean, there's not much we can do there, I suppose, and we're all fighting over the high ground, right? If they go down here, right, then we resolve our fight with squad 2, and we get to stay up here, and we're on the high ground now, shooting down for basically for free on squad 1. I'll also say that I knew at this point that they had a Pathfinder and a Horizon because they tried to throw their Horizon ult and do something cheeky with that, and we'd seen the Pathfinder moving around, so we knew that they had those 2 characters, and so that they would be able to somehow contest us up here even if we took this spot from squad 2. But those are both kind of unfavorable plays, right? It'd be much easier to be used even if you had Pathfinder and Horizon on your squad. You'd still rather be this squad up here, these guys than these guys. These guys down there are totally screwed. So I think actually, oh my god, chill, let go. So I think actually the play that we, like I said, the play that we should have made was to just do this guy. Right now, we've got 34 seconds. That play takes us through the fast side of the ring, so we don't have very long, right? That play on the mini map looks like this. So that play takes us through the fast side of the ring, so we don't have very long, and we have to resolve this fight with these guys up here. You'll see here in a moment there are a couple of things that make this more viable. Right? We're gonna be in a lot of trouble here. We don't get out of here. You can even hear me saying like that, like we're in trouble, right? Right here. So Pathfinder throws the zipline. Actually, hang on, it gets even better. So, and they get onto the zipline, right? So now you've got a squad this is squad 1, right? That's trying to make their rotation, and they're making their rotation across this zipline here, right? They're very committed. Now that they're on this zipline, there's not really like an option for them to turn around. The only thing they can do is like go and like drop, and like the only mix-ups they have are like sort of like where they drop off. They can't go hide behind us, you know, on this side of the pillar here, because if they do, then they get shot by squad 2, right? So they're gonna have to be like really careful, really careful with how they use cover here. And looking at the timer, right, 25 seconds. This is really early, right? So if I were squad 1, I would not have made this play. This is, I think, the wrong timing for this play. Because it's so early, then, right, like they get lasered by us, and they get put into a recovery stance down here. And then they have to hold down this position while taking harassment from the super high ground like us and squad 1. So you don't, like, if you are this squad, you do not want to be the one that has to go here. You want to force us to drop off first, right? By like playing under us and like getting as close to like the circle as you can, right? You want to force us to drop off first and then hopefully follow us in as we take fire from squad 2, you know, as we make our rotation. So this is bad, and this opened up opportunities for us, right? You'll see here actually that we managed to land like a knock because the Hemlock's a stupid gun on the Pathfinder, right? So now that the Pathfinder has been knocked, right? These guys have one, like, I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to push squad 1 because they wanted to be squad 1, right? Or squad 2. They wanted to be squad number 2. They wanted to be the guys that are up on the high ground, right? And it just clearly, like, they just for some reason did not think that we could shoot people who are moving in a straight line. So, you know, Pathfinder's down over here now, right? And so these guys, they can't do that anymore. This play to like push up here is like, it's completely botched. And so they have to like play down here on the low ground now, right? So they're really going to be very uncomfortable. Like I said, like being in that recovery position now and like having low ground, right, against 2 different squads. And so as soon as this happened, like it would have been awesome because these guys are not going to be like ready to do anything about us. So they're going to be dealing with them, and they're going to be trying to revive the Pathfinder. And so right now, I feel like is like when we need to make that push. I feel like that would be like the best timing for this. Kind of a missed opportunity. So we don't. Pathfinder's down, right? But we do drop down to follow up on the damage, right? Which I think is totally valid. Like that's a huge knock right now at this point in the game. Having anyone downed on your squad, like when the circles and rotations are getting this tight, like there's no reason like why like we shouldn't follow up on this. And the reason why is because like if like we decide to take the scenario like where like we have to fight squad 1 down here on the low ground, leaving squad 2 like up there on the high ground at the end of the zip line. Like even if we take that option, then we need to eliminate squad 1 as quickly as possible. Like we cannot give squad 2 like the chance to just log free damage on us and everything like that. It's like this like attack on squad 1 needs to be like just like a one and done thing. Like as soon as we engage, like this fight needs to just basically be over, right? So like with this first knock, like what we need now is to cleanly follow up on the remaining 2, right? Because they start a lifeline revive here, we're going to have to like sort of run them down, right? But they're severely weakened. So we like if we're gonna fight these guys, like we're like on a timer, right? We're on the clock here, right? Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have to get dug in against this squad and that squad. Like that's a super uncomfortable situation, and you have really no guarantees whether the cover here is going to be sustainable enough. Like it's like it's hard to tell until you sort of get there, right? So you take this. You don't want to make this push here right now. Or I mean, like maybe we could have. I didn't really see anyone up here. So yeah, it's like basically because there was a lot of fighting up here, so we're not really sure. So it's possible that this squad up here, squad 2, was actually still not ready to fight in spite of the zipline getting thrown, or they just weren't aware. One of those two things, right? And they were depending on this like drone to somehow tip them off. So it's possible that was what happened, or they are ready. In which case, riding this zipline any further would be like a death sentence to us. So I kind of like in this situation preferred to go with like what was known, which is that these guys are very unhappy right now. We should have taken them first. I think looking at this now, with like, so I know what we do, which is like we go down this way like that. Looking at this now, I think, oops. What would have been better is to take the high ground up here. So we take that high ground up there. These guys, like again, like, so this is not in the ring. That's this thing here. So it's not in the ring, but it's on the slow side of the ring. And it will force this weakened squad in between us and squad 2. Right? So squad 1 will get forced in between squad 2 and us now, for sure. Right? Whereas if we're over here, then it's like kind of like we're like a Mexican standoff. If we go here, right, then like we're sort of like at a Mexican standoff with squad 1, and so it's like a kind of like an equal triangle. F for Frosty. Yeah, so then like, you know, like we're like at an equal triangle with everyone, right? So what we want is we like want to like have like a line where like one is clearly sandwiched between us and the enemy squad. So if we weren't going to make that play to go like out and around the station here, which it was a tough play. Like that's a play like you have to start like almost immediately, and you have to be fast, and everyone's got to be quick on it, quick on their feet, and they got to be quick on the uptake, which is super not going to happen with these. I was soloing at the time, so you know, these guys, you know, good as they are, like we aren't going to be able to be that coordinated. So if we're going to make this low ground play, right, the best thing that we could have done, right, is take this high ground, sandwich these guys, put them in an awful position, right, where like it's very unlikely that they're going to continue to survive, and then like complete our push to shove them off of this position. And so it's like when they're sandwiched, right, they have to decide, like they can't stay there. So they have to decide either they try and fight to the death and probably die, or they leave the position and we get to take a nice position over here, right, after sandwiching them. So I feel like that was probably the next thing we could have done better. So even keeping that in mind, right, now we're playing down this right-hand side here. Whoa. Okay, so Lifeline made it to the top there and only take a few shots, so it's possible they weren't ready for us, so we could have maybe pulled that off. Hard to say. The fact that Lifeline, oh, I hear a PK though, so that would have actually been super dicey. So Lifeline gets shoved off that position, right? And so that alone like stalled us, and I didn't communicate that the enemies were going this way, which is on me. Knowing that they were going this way though, right? Like, I don't know, like we should have been like in chase down mode, and like, so it was like clear that like we were like divided on like what we were supposed to be doing, which is my fault. So this is a situation where I think better comms like would have helped resolve the situation more cleanly. We went over here. Now trying to find these guys, and our squad is like completely split up now. Oh no. Horizon's trying to find with me, so she's slightly into the front, like she's somewhere over here. No, never mind, excuse me. Horizon and Lifeline are together, and I'm off on my own. So this is a complete division. This is a complete breakdown in teamwork. So this is my fault. So I needed to be more aware again of what my teammates are doing. So this is like actually the same error as yesterday, like where there's the play I want to make, the one that I see in my head, right? The one that I think is like going to be the optimal one, which is going to be just like kill squad 1. Take this low ground, kill squad 1, force squad 2 to do the same thing as we just had to do, which is to drop down, like when they're not like really willing to, and like have to fight us on the low ground. So this is like pretty much one of the same errors that we made yesterday, which is getting too locked into like sort of like what I like, you know, this crystal clear like play that I see in my head, instead of adjusting to doing what's being asked of us, which is right now going to be to fall back, to let them have this space, and to protect my teammates, right? Because anything that I do, like going up here, like if I get knocked up here, then that's like game over for our squad, right? Like, so I cannot get knocked up here, and I do take a lot of damage, and I think it's only because of like poor awareness and aim on the enemy's part, like that I don't like die here, but like I should be dead, right? Like I'm getting shot by a Volt, like that was definitely enough time to kill with the Volt, and they just didn't hit enough shots on me. We have to play this. So I'm forced back now, right? My two teammates are like, like fine, but they're forced into a position like where they have to cover my retreat. So at this point, like this is like where I kind of needed to tell them to come to me. This is a super uncomfortable position, but this spot over here, I think, is like the only one that sufficiently hides us from that squad up there, squad 2 and squad 1 at this point now, right? And so, like, and we're sort of like playing the waiting game, hoping something special happens with the ring here, which it doesn't, right? And so you can see my teammates like start taking fire from all directions because they don't really have very good cover on either direction. Create more cover for ourselves here. So I get like caught here trying to do something cheeky like with the mobile respawn beacon. Oh god, yeah, this is actually the worst. So Jesus Christ, like I don't understand like what about this is like reasonable. Like so so even if we cleaned up squad 1, we would have had to make a super unfavorable push with like a horizon, like the horizon's little jumping ability or whatever to get up onto here, because that's where it ends. It's all the way over here, and so we're still on the slow side of the ring, so we kind of get like boned, not gonna lie. So like hindsight being 2020, right? Like we would probably rather have contested this squad up here, like in terms of difficulty, fighting this squad up here or this squad over here, like roughly equal in difficulty, I would say. But what happens after that, right, is more favorable, is that like we get to play up here and actually probably win the game for free because the circle ends over there. So that is something that we could have done, right? At this point now, however, like we need to beat squad 1. So we're holding down the position. Blah, blah, blah. Shooting. Yeah, there's just nothing about this that ends well. You can't, like, yeah. That damage like doesn't really do anything because I take roughly equal damage in exchange, and so I still have the same need to heal. My 2 teammates are in an awful position right now, which is not their fault. Right, dealing like with this crossfire angle, like there's so little that they can do in terms of cover. They should hopefully step back to me, but it's like I don't even think they can, because there's just not like nobody's gonna give them the space, right? Like this squad over here is constantly going to be watching, constantly looking to see if they can do something to us, because they want us off the map. These guys are just looking down at both of us, and so these guys are never going to get the chance like where there's going to be like a lull where they're going to be able to safely make this transfer, right? Like even if they're full healed, like when they transfer to cover like where I am now, like it's going to be extremely risky, and I'm like reluctant to use the portal to port them back because it doesn't fix the end problem, which comes in 1 minute and 6 seconds, which is that we need to rotate. And so like maybe that was the play, to like just get them out of that immediate piece of cover. I mean, like, yeah, it's probably just solving one problem at a time, right? Because yeah, so potentially porting them back into this piece of cover that I knew was working would have been better. I know it's like seeing short, but it's like just thinking about how many eyes are looking at them, like, and waiting for them to peek. I just think they don't have like a good opportunity to make it out. The medic lady, lifeline's broken. Yeah, I totally know what the characters' names are. Yeah, there's not much they can do here. Okay, so now here comes the part like where I think this is like another part where I feel like I could have done something better, which is right here. I used my Q. This should have been a portal, because had I ported them and found just a spot within the ring, right? Like there is a possibility, not a good possibility, but a possibility that I can get off a revive. So, and I never used the portal in the remainder of this play. So basically, like, I could have gotten a little bit of value, right? Potential value out of the portal, and I don't use it. So this is a misplay on my part. No. I'm just thinking it's like I'm just gonna have to do this myself, but I really didn't, like, you know, it wouldn't have taken much longer to start up the portal. Where I end up is like not good, because on the other side of this is squad 1, who will kill me if they hear me just void walk into them. On this side, there's squad 2, so there's not really a whole lot of places to go. And also, if I go towards squad 1, it actually doesn't get me any closer to the circle. It would appear that this circle is going to require for me to stand in the lava, which is not good. Potentially, like, I could have, like, yeah, there's just nowhere to hide. So, yeah, at this point, like, I feel like this, like, when I started the queue here, like, we were kind of done and dusted. Like, no. Like this, like, there's, like, nowhere for me to go, right? You're just, like, looking here, there's nowhere for me to hide from this squad and that squad, and also get closer to ring. So it's, like, at this point, like, I don't even know if it's, like, worth talking about, like, what happens here. I mean, like, obviously, like, yeah, like, you can hear me say, like, I just killed our squad. And it's, like, there's just nothing I can do about this. Yeah. So, just to recap, I guess, like, you know, this is like a pretty chaotic end game. There are a lot of things going on. So the key points, like where we could have, you know, key points of improvement were right here. After knocking this character, oops, here. Can we step forward like a few frames? It's too many frames. No, I don't know the controls. Okay. What after? Right here. So like we have to drop down, right? And so we could have done one of two things, which is follow them on this zip line here, or to make this play. I don't even know if we have enough time to make this play, but that would have been ideal, right? So that's the first thing that we could have done, is tried to contest the squad that was on high ground, which makes more sense, right? Because the high ground squad, you beat the high ground squad, then you get to be the high ground squad. As opposed to if you beat the low ground squad, then you're still like, if you beat the other low ground squad, you're still the low ground squad. So there's that. So it's like, so either of these two avenues would have been, you know, potentially viable routes of attack to take on the high ground squad, especially since this guy's knocked, they're going to be completely distracted in terms of like what they're doing next, right? And trying to revive that guy and cover the revive. So that was like our first error. The next error comes up here. Probably would have been better to take this high ground to sandwich the squad that is now here, that's trying to revive their Pathfinder between us and the high ground squad, right? So this is error number 2, which is a misjudgment in positioning selection, right? And basically not sandwiching this squad, not being as aggressive as we probably should have been. And then this is an error that should have got me killed, which is trying to push alone. The same problem as yesterday, right? Which is where my two teammates are on a different page than I am. There's the play that I want to make, the optimal play that I see in my head, that I believe is optimal, may or may not actually be optimal. So it's the one that I see in my head and the one that actually needs to happen. The one that actually needs to happen is not me pushing this squad that has like the weakened Pathfinder I know. Probably not so weak anymore, right? So that's like another error. Finally, like when we get locked down into position here, when my two teammates start taking a lot of fire here in this area right over here, I could have ported them towards me just to keep them alive. When all three of us are alive, we've got a few more options to play with than when that's not the case. It really doesn't do much in the long term in terms of like fixing our problems. Like I still feel like there was some kind of magic that needed to happen, like with a portal and like Horizon, like using her Q to help me get into position with the portal. I feel like. So there's still a little bit more work to be done there, but like, again, like you got to solve like your immediate problems first, which is that my teammates are dying, right? Like it's like, and you can see it, like you can just see them like hemorrhaging like HP, like over the course of these exchanges. So yeah. And then the very last thing is that right here, I could have at least given my teammates a shot at surviving and also just had like another visual distraction on the field between them and like the portal, and actually could have used them as cover. So those are all three things that, you know, like reasons like why this is an error. So that was the last thing, is like not using the portal here and not getting value out of this ability when we're basically in like a last ditch situation. So, yep. Lots of room for improvement, really hard situation, a lot of things happening at once, which is why I wanted to review this, because I knew at like my heart of hearts that there was like a winning combination for us somewhere in here, and that like, if I didn't look at it like, you know, a second time, that I wouldn't be able to see it. So that's pretty much that. I'm going to take a quick break before switching over.